Fedora Outlier LLC logo animation. Logo is burnt orange, reddish brown. The shape is a square with a white outer glow creating dimension. The letters FO are in the center of the square. The letters have a hand-drawn artistic appearance. Backdrop is black with light flares that appear then disappear. There is a transparent mirror image of the logo underneath.
Stacie, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You sure?
Yes, I'll try to be.
All right, let's go. Are you twerking? Oh, guess not. So you guys know that is not gunshots. That is Stacie Leap crushing the builders. What's up, Stace?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you so much for letting me be on here.
No doubt. But I want you to get one question out before you make a statement, okay? So I am doing fine, right? And I am glad that you are on here. I'm at this silly. Please don't bother me. I just had another interview with my homeboy, and he was crazy, as always. So he got me all in a crazy mood. But, man, we're going to jump into it. So me and you have never met, so I don't have the I've met you story unless we have met and you didn't say anything. So were you like at the convention in New Orleans or something?
I was at the convention in New Orleans.
And
you know a few of my people.
Yeah, I know your people, but I ain't met you. It's messed up. Cool. So, since I've never met you, I have nothing to say but lovely voice and Philadelphia, and we know some people together. So tell us all about you, Stace. Where'd you grow up? What you do? All that good stuff.
So my name's Stacie. I live in Philly. I've been in Philly since I was 8. I was originally from Manhattan, moved to Brooklyn, and my dad had some family up in Philly. So he had moved up here to be with them. But the ironic thing is, later on down the line, my uncles had moved back to Cambodia and left my dad hanging in Philly. So, but my dad, God bless his soul, he passed away back in 2015. But so now he's in Cambodia, he's here, he's everywhere. So
Okay.
As for what I do, a little bit of everything. So I volunteer a lot with the NFB.
Hold on. No. We talking about how you grew up, where you grew up, what did you do as a child, all of that good stuff. Where you moved to now? So did you jump rope as a child? Was it a normal childhood? Was it a 2-family home? Did you have a dog?
It was a 2-family home. Did not have a dog. My family situation is a little bit special.
Okay.
So my mom and my dad, they're 30 years apart. So my dad, when he passed away, he was 85, and my mom at that time was 55. So I grew up with an older dad. So he had a lot of grandfather tendencies, if you will. So I knew a lot about how to do certain things, or just his mannerisms and everything. And I've always thought that was normal until I went to school one day. I think I was in 5th grade. My teacher said, "Oh, tell your grandfather to sit here." And I was like, "My grandfather? That's my dad." And she got really embarrassed. And I really just sat there and listened. I was like, is he that old to be my granddad? I'm so used to him being my dad. And then I asked all my friends, how old is your dad? They were like, "Oh, my dad's 30, my dad's 40. I was like, "Oh, well, how old is your granddad?" My granddad's like 60, 70. And I'm like, wait, he's older than the grands? So I ended up asking my mom and dad, like, how'd y'all get together? Why am I here? So they fled
what answers
Cambodia.
Did you get?
Oh my goodness. Wild question. So from my dad, he said, "Well, I thought your mom looked cute." And I just, they both fled Cambodia during the war. Mm-hmm. So they met in New York during a GED class to learn English and everything.
Right.
So on my dad's side of the story, he said, "Oh, your mom was cute. My wife, I don't know if she's dead or alive. I needed to move on, so I saw your mom, and your mom is now your mom." And I was like, "Weird story. Thank you, Dad."
Mm.
I asked my mom. My mom was like, "Well, when I met your dad, I didn't think he was cute at all, because he was old, and but all the guys that wanted me, they wanted me, but they wouldn't accept my dad or his or her dad. You know, they was like, well, they won't accept her dad, but they both fled the country together. My grandfather didn't know anything, so she didn't want to leave my grandfather. But my dad was willing to accept both my mom and my grandfather, so that's why she accepted him and why he became my dad. So that was a pretty awesome story on her end. But
Okay.
a more weird story, my mom's dad and my dad were 2 years apart.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Man, I know from the times we talked, your stories get even wilder. But yeah, that's a good. Well, your dad was putting it down. Do you hear
right. Yeah.
me?
Oh, talk about putting it down. So I was
Okay.
the youngest of 9. From my understanding, my dad had a wife from before my mom and had
Uh-huh.
8 kids, and then had my mom and had me. So I was the
Okay.
youngest of 9. That was up until I was about 13.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm becoming the youngest of 16 kids.
Uh-huh.
All these kids came out of nowhere and wrote letters to my dad, sent pictures and saying, "Hi Dad, this is me, this is my kids." And my dad was like, "Who are you? I don't know who you are." So they wrote back and they say, "Well, this is my mom." And then he was like, "Oh man, she
Oh,
never told me she was pregnant."
right. That many times?
Right. So I have a sister in Australia, I have a sister in China, I have about 6 sisters in Vietnam. I have a sister in France, and then I got 4 sisters in the country. And the other sisters and brothers, I don't know who they are. And
Okay.
honestly, out of the 16 kids, I only know 4 of them. So I don't even know who my family. I can walk past them. I don't even know that they're related to me.
And that's not just because you're blind, it's because.
No, I just don't know who they are.
Wow. That is a story. So what was your childhood like? Where'd you go to school? What some of the activities you were in?
So I went to this small elementary school called Southwark. It's in South Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things that I did down there was I was more of a tomboy back then. So I played soccer, I played a little bit of basketball, don't know how to shoot hoops or nothing like that. I just played it, right?
Right.
But I was a really good goalie in soccer. So when we played soccer, I was always the goalie. Um, and as far as like jump rope and stuff, I was the one turning the rope. I wasn't the
Okay.
one jumping
Okay.
it.
Got
Because
you.
I have no eye-hand coordination at the time, so I
Okay.
was like, I'm not even going to try to trip and bust my face, so I'll just turn for y'all.
Wow. Okay.
And then I went to this high school. It was an all-girls high school, Philadelphia High School for Girls, and that's when I broke out of my shell of my tomboy
Mm-hmm.
phase and went more into the girly phase of actually wanted to do my hair, learning what makeup was, actually realizing that I'm cute, I'm kind
Mm-hmm.
of cute, you
Okay.
know. So, but I did break out of my shell because even though I was a tomboy when I was younger, I was very timid and shy. I didn't really want to talk to nobody. Like my friends were really small. It was maybe like 2, 3 people. But when I got to girls high, I broke out of that shell and it's just like making friends with everybody, becoming more outspoken, less timid, just really friendly and outgoing. I wanted to hang out with everybody.
Okay. Okay. Um, and that was high school?
High school, yeah.
Okay. And any college?
Yep, I went to Temple University. I majored
Okay.
in recreational therapy with minors in public health and psychology, with certificates in leadership management and gerontology. It's a
Okay.
mouthful. So,
Right.
but I did
What's
do a lot of student orgs. So I was a part of the Temple student government. They call senators of the different colleges. I was a senator for the College of Health Professions and Social Work. I started a student org called St. Jude's Crew, where we raise money for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital.
mm-hmm.
And I also started one called TUS. It stood for Temple University Society of Khmer Students, because I'm originally, both my family are from Cambodia. So
Mm.
us being Khmer, there was no Khmer representation in college, and I helped start that up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What is gerontology?
The study of older adults and their behaviors and psychology about that. So I learned a lot about what it meant to age, how your brain changes, about Alzheimer's and dementia, and how to adapt that brain functioning to recreational therapy and help them learn how to be more independent and have a better quality of life. So we did a lot of things like gardening, a horticulture, going out for walks, exercise, yoga, anything that they would want to do that's not going to hurt them and the ailments that they have.
Mm. So, well, I mean, I guess I'm thinking being 45, when I get older, I'm going to have more experience and know what I like to do. How does that change in your professional opinion to getting older and now these things almost have to be reintroduced to you?
That's a good question.
I mean, do you know what I mean? It's like now, if I'm 45, I know I don't want to do horticulture and plant tomatoes. Man, I might want to go walk, but I mean, I know how to walk now. So how does someone like you help me if I already know how to walk?
Yeah, so it kind of goes with the recreational therapy. So recreational therapy helps those who's been through some kind of injury or ailment or
Got you. Okay.
progressive, and we use recreation as a way to provide you with that therapeutic intervention in
Got you.
order for you to be better. So you would go to if you go to physical therapy, PT, they'll teach you how to walk going up the stairs, how to do it safely. With OT, they teach you how to walk around your house safely. But for me, I'll teach you how to walk around the gym, how to play basketball, how to, just using other modalities to help you walking to make it fun. That way you can still have fun while working on the goal of walking or whatever the goal is that your physical therapist, occupational therapist wants you to do.
Okay. And since you didn't truly play basketball, I don't think your team
I
was.
could be a coach on the sidelines. There's some coaches. Yeah, there's coaches with big bellies and stuff coaching from the sidelines. I could be one of those.
But they had success in winning at the game, though.
No, I'm not at that point.
I got you. And so you get out and you start this career. Everything is going pretty good. I mean, you're out of college. You're making it in life, and so what was the transition from college into your career like? Because at this point, you're not blind, right?
Yeah, at this point, I'm not blind yet.
Okay.
So I did not finish college, unfortunately. I was in my last year, and during my last year, my mother found out I was dating a guy. And to kind of give you guys background, my mother doesn't approve of other races. Besides Cambodian. So I was dating an African-American guy, and she was really upset with me. She kicked me out the house. She was like, if you want to go be with him, go be with him. And I went to go move in with him. And later on down the line, I found out he was cheating on me. So then I became homeless because, I couldn't go back home with my mom. And of course, my boyfriend basically cheated me. So I left him. So I was hopping on park benches. I was going to the gym to take showers. I was going to friends' houses for food. And eventually, I landed in a really dingy apartment with two coworkers. And I just thought it was horrible, So I was like, I need to talk to somebody. My dad is my best friend. I wanted to call him. So I called him. My mom said, you can't talk to him. You're no longer his child. You're no longer my child. You don't need to call us. So I got really upset. I started to cry, and then I stopped going to classes. I went to campus. I went to campus. I hung out with friends. I did all my student org stuff, but I never went to class to learn. So eventually I dropped out of everything. So had a 0 GPA, couldn't talk to my dad, couldn't go home, didn't have a nice apartment to live, and I felt my life was over. And I attempted suicide. I took 3 bottles of ibuprofen. And and after I took the 3 bottles of ibuprofen, I landed myself, of course, in ICU, and then into a psychiatric institution where they diagnosed me with depression. And from there, I saw all these people, people who are addicts, people who are alcoholics, people who have schizophrenia or depression or like mental disorders, behavioral health challenges. And I saw that the therapy groups were helping, and it was helping me. And I wanted to change my career from recreational therapy to behavioral health, because I wanted to change my behavior and change the way that I thought about myself and my low self-esteem, and figure out how to be a better person. But I know if other people are like me, or thinking like me, they're going to need the help from people like me who've been there, done that type situation. So I went into behavioral health. I started volunteering a lot within the recovery field. I did the recovery walk here in Philadelphia. I helped organize that a lot. I worked my way into the city of Philadelphia in their Department of Behavioral Health, became an intern there. And I was just doing so much in the behavioral health field. I just can't remember all of it. But what I do remember is all the people who came to me and said, hey, I took your training and it helped me out. Or, hey, I heard your story and it was amazing. And if you can do it and you're this young, I can do it. And I'm this young too.
Okay.
And I had people who were in recovery for years and said, you know what, your story touched me because I went through that too. I'm still going through that, and knowing that you're pushing through, why can't I? So having that peer support, that was one thing I always wanted to continue to do in the behavioral health field.
Got you. So going back to your mom, so was that her belief, or is that something that Cambodians, believe in as a society, or what was that about?
I think it was her own belief, because when she came here, she did not speak any English. She didn't know the area. She came from a whole new country.
Right.
So she said her first interaction with anybody from this country, she was robbed by somebody who was African American. So she just assumes everybody who's African American is going to rob her or hurt her. So I think that mindset stuck with her even until now. To this day and age, she doesn't trust anybody that is African American.
Okay. So at the same time that you're needing love and support and all of that, you're having to give it to other people in your profession, but you're in dire need of it yourself.
True. And it was a two-part thing. I felt by helping others, I was, pouring it into myself.
Okay.
But then also I realized that I was looking for, like you said, to be completed by somebody else. I couldn't get it from my mom. I couldn't get it from my dad. So I sought it within my partners. So,
Okay.
My boyfriends and stuff I saw. And then I was in a really, really abusive relationship, that resulted to where I'm at now, to my blindness and all the advocacy work that I do.
Okay. Yeah. So take us there. So it's the same gentleman that your mom was, livid about you dating, correct?
No, this is another guy years later.
Years later. Okay. So in the years later, from the first gentleman and going into the hospital and getting out and continuing on your path, you meet this new gentleman. And so how was that relationship starting off? Was it the typical everything is good and then, or was there signs that you just missed in the beginning? Take us there. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so in the beginning, it was like the cupcake phase, they call it. He said the right things, he did the right things. Like both of us was homeless at that time, so he made sure that he wouldn't eat. He'll give me the food, or if he had a few dollars, he'll give it to me so I can go do things in the behavioral field or work or volunteer. He'll be without, So I was like, wow, he's very caring, he's very selfless, and then he really likes me. Why not? Like we can work on getting this house together. We can work on changing our mindsets and changing our careers and doing things together,
Mm-hmm.
So eventually we landed and had an apartment together. And then the signs started coming up, but I never really at first noticed them as red flags. Looking back now, I can tell that they were red flags, but in the moment at the time, I didn't see it as that. There was a time he would always take me to work, and he'll wait outside until I get done work. He wouldn't even leave. And at first I was like, oh, that's so cute. He's so caring and he doesn't want to be without me. But looking back is like, no, he was trying to make sure you wouldn't leave. He was making sure that you weren't doing anything, and every time I talk to a guy, he'll be right next to me. And at that time I was like, oh, he's very protective. That's kind of cute. Looking back is like, no, this is a little bit too overprotective. He's not giving me my privacy or my space, and eventually that became into, you're not allowed to talk to him, or why do you have to talk to him for? Even though there could be my family members, even though there could be my friends, or even my boss, I wasn't allowed to talk to them without him being in the room. And
did y'all work at the same place?
No, but he volunteered where I worked.
Oh.
Yeah, he ended up wanting to volunteer where I worked, which at the time he told me was to help his career. But honestly, looking back, was probably just to keep tabs on me.
Right. Okay.
And then eventually that turned into him accusing me of doing things like cheating or, going behind his back or whatever, which led to like hitting and me fighting for my life certain times.
Right.
And there's been a few instances where he always aimed for my face, and I would have black eyes, or I have like, the little spots that comes out of my vision. There's been a few times where my vision was really blurry and I would sleep or it'll go away after a few hours, So, but this particular time, he had beat me so bad. He had pushed me down the stairs. He had dragged me back up. Sorry, trigger warning. I should have said that in the beginning. Sorry.
Gotcha.
But it's a lot that he did. And I had passed out. And when I woke up, I couldn't see. But, because of what happened before. And I was like, I'll just wait until I can see again. So I went back to sleep. I woke up a few hours later, couldn't see. And then I realized I couldn't move my neck without it being so painful. So I screamed at him and I said, I need to go to the ER. And he was like, why? I was like, because I can't move my neck and I can't see. And eventually he was like, no, you're not going. And then eventually his stepmom came over and I told her, she was like, you need to take her. And that's when he took me, and I found out that my neck was dislocated in 3 different spots. My retinas were detached. There was blood in my eyes. On top of all which, I found out I was pregnant. That I was 2 months pregnant. And that was just so much for me to handle. I didn't know what to do. The doctors asked me what happened, and I was so scared to tell him because he was right there. I said, right. I don't know. I woke up like this, which technically I didn't lie. I did wake up and it was like this, so, but then they discharged me. And then they took me, I went back to his house and we had some appointments and stuff. And when I came back, my OBGYN told me to sign some papers. And I told them I can't see. That's when they admitted me. And I was able to tell the social worker there that he's done this to me. He's the one that caused me not to see, why my neck is dislocated, why, my back is messed up, all that. And they helped me. The hospitals have, I don't know exactly the term, but there's a list of people that you can give them where they're not allowed to come see you. So he was on that list.
Right.
So he was never allowed to come see me, which made him even more furious. And his mom actually came up to visit me, and I was so scared. Because I was like, she's going to yell at me. She's going to, accuse me of like, putting this on her son, and her son is such a good man. But she instead she ended up crying, and she said, I'm so sorry he did this to you.
Right.
I don't know what to do, but I can do this. I'll get you the restraining order. You can't leave this hospital without him knowing, but I'm going to go and get the restraining order for you. So she went to family court. She got the restraining order. She brought it back to the hospital, got me to sign it. She went back to the police station and told them to deliver it to him. So she did so much, even though that was her son, and that just helped me realize that there's some people, even though you're blood with them, they know what's right from wrong, and they're going to make it right.
Right. Right. Hmm. So, how does this affect relationships now for you?
Funny that you said that. So I couldn't really trust in the beginning. It was a lot of anxiety. If I heard a man's voice, I'll tense up.
Mm,
And my ex at that time, he spoke Spanish. He's Hispanic origin,
mm,
and if I heard Spanish, I'll freak out that it was him. You know, I'll cry and say I need to get out of here, whatever. Eventually, I realized that it's not always him. So I started, loosely not tense up so much.
mm-hmm.
I started opening up my guy friends back into my life. I did apologize to a lot of my friends, saying that I'm sorry for this, and I explained my situation.
Stacie, here is your reminder.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Hold on.
That's your reminder.
Stacie,
Yeah.
here is your reminder. Take our medication.
So I started opening up to my guy friends again and telling them what's happening and stuff, and slowly letting them back in my life. But as far as relationships on like a romantic level, I've tried to date, and then I notice what I consider red flags, and maybe now I'm super vigilant and I'm so scared to get into a relationship. I'll like kind of abandon that person and say like, maybe it's not good for me, maybe it's not good for us,
It's
but
not
I'm
you.
slowly working on it. But
Hmm.
as far as for me myself, I think my relationship building needs to work with myself. I need to love myself more,
Right.
and I need to get in touch with God more. I need to realize that I don't need another guy or another person or another anything to complete me.
Right.
That I need to be okay with myself. So that's what I kind of been working on, is that positive affirmations every time I wake up, the prayer to God for another day of life, to realize that there's so much more to live than to live for other people.
Right. Right. And so you have a daughter. Is it by him or the
I
previous?
can't confirm or deny that statement.
Oh, gotcha.
I can't confirm or deny that. But, she is 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She is amazing. She does help me out a lot. And having her made me appreciate myself and
Right.
made me want to love God again. Because I remember when I first went blind, of course, I had the broken neck, I couldn't see, I was pregnant, it was just so much negativity that I thought was happening. I was like, there can't be a God. There
Right.
cannot be one. How can you do this to somebody that you said is your child, and you're not, this is not love, And as my daughter got older, I realized he does love me. Yes, I went through all those crazy situations,
Mm-hmm.
but what I prayed for was, when I was with him, was for him to get me out of there, for him to help me find somebody that loves me for me, that I can wake up to, and that person will be there and will love me the same way I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, think about it. Isn't that a child?
Right. Right. That's the same thing I was thinking.
Yeah, that's a child.
Right.
So when you pray to God, you have to be really specific, because he did answer my prayer, but I thought it was a man.
Right.
But he gave that prayer to me in a child, and that made me realize there is a God. He did help me get through this. He brought me somebody that loved me unconditionally. He brought me somebody that made me want to grow up. When you become a parent, you have to grow up so you can take care of the both of you.
Mm-hmm.
So I became more mature. I realized that no needs to mean no, that I can't keep going back to him, that I can't let her see the situation, that I can't let her be a part of the situation, that we need to be safe and we need to be grounded and we need to love our God.
Mm-hmm. So have you had this conversation with your mom since this happened?
Yes, which is part of the reason why we are not on speaking terms. When I first went blind, she told me that it's my fault. If I would have never dated a Black guy, I would have never went blind. And if I would have never, dated outside my race, I wouldn't be pregnant out of wedlock. If I would have done this, if I would have done that, maybe I wouldn't go through these situations. And at first I believed her. because you trust your mom.
Mm-hmm.
But after talking to so many people, after realizing that self-love that I told you about earlier, that's not love. At least that's not the love that I want. So
Yeah, I
I
know
took
that's
myself
right.
away from her.
Right. Right. Got you. Um, how do you transition from that? So between that and now, when did you start to feel and understand happiness and joy? Was it after your daughter was born? When did you
I'm
start to
still
transition?
experiencing. I'm still experiencing my highs and lows.
Okay.
I call it my emotional roller coaster. Because
Mm-hmm.
how I went blind was so drastic.
Traumatic, yeah.
Yeah, it's very traumatic. So there's sometimes I cry a lot about how I went blind. I cry about not being able to see my child, and I remember I would always tell people and choke up on it, like I really wish I can see her smile.
Mm.
But my ups, I've realized I'm alive, that I can't see her smile, but I can feel it. I feel her face all the time, and she smiles for me just by instinct, and I can feel them chubby cheeks. I can feel the cute smile that she has. So it brings me a lot of joy. But I guess the time in my life that I realized that joy was when my daughter turned 1.
Okay.
She came out premature, but she had no birth defects, no brain injury, nothing. Even though I went through all that abuse, I
Mm.
went through 2 eye surgeries, a neck surgery, the abuse, and the depression of crying every day. And
Right.
she was still happy, she was still smiling, and that's when I realized that God is here. God is here for me. I just need to accept him. And it wasn't that he didn't love me, that I didn't love myself. And I need to realize that I left him, he had never left me. He still gave me a child that had no illness, no sickness. He gave me a home after being homeless. So I started to appreciate my life more. And I started to appreciate the fact that I'm alive. I'm not
Right.
just being here. I'm alive. And that started when my daughter turned 1, and I've been going through that emotional roller coaster ever since.
Okay. Okay. Got you. So Yvette Bird, Denise Brown, Janetta Price are all 3 awesome women that we've had the pleasure of being in the presence of. How did you meet each one of them?
Oh my goodness, amazing woman. So at first, I met Denise Brown first. She lives in Philadelphia here
Yep.
with me, and I joined the NFB of Pennsylvania. And there's 2 local chapters in Philadelphia. There's the Greater Philly chapter, where she's president, and there's the Keystone chapter, where Harriet Go is the president. So when I joined, I was like, I'm gonna join both chapters. Since I live in Philadelphia, I might as well join both chapters. So I joined both chapters. I met Denise, and at first I was like, who's this random lady calling me to welcome me to the NFB?
Mm.
But as I started going to her meetings, I realized she's so resourceful. I realized when the people that talk to her in the meetings,
Mm-hmm.
they always ask her questions about herself, and she just seems so caring. And
Right.
eventually I just realized that she's a really good mentor, and I use her a lot for to be mentored by. I love her. I just love her. And meeting Janetta, I met her on Clubhouse. I don't know if she remembers, but there was a workshop on Clubhouse about accessible e-learning,
Mm-hmm.
which at the time was during the pandemic. And I wanted to go in to learn and know exactly what that meant, because I didn't see that when I was teaching my daughter stuff from her school. None of the stuff was accessible. And I was like, I wonder what accessible e-learning means. I'm gonna try to do that and teach it to her school so they can give me accessible e-learning.
Mm-hmm.
But it turned out to be more like a discussion about like what could be accessible e-learning and stuff. But Janetta was there, and I was like, I know you. I heard your name before. She goes, Chicken Thunder. You know how she always is, like, Chicken
Right.
Thunder.
Right.
So she's like, I'm gonna follow you. And then I realized she was the community service president with the NFB, and I joined her Willing Workers. She's a sister to me. I love her dearly.
Right.
And because of her, I've been able to come out of my shell even more, and accepting my blindness and being more of this empowered woman that I need to be for myself. and we got this book together. Lavette, I met because of the niece. She's joined the Greater Philly chapter, and she was going through a lot of her personal issues at home, and I always called to check up on Lavette just to see how she's doing. And one time we met up at someone's birthday party, and she's pulling off this women's conference. So I was asking her how there could be a virtual option, and she said no, there can't be, because there's nobody to help. And I said, well, I can help out.
Right.
And I've been able to be a part of her small business, and now she's my spiritual mom. I call her mom. So out of the NFB, I got a mentor, I got a mom, and I got a sister. And that to me is amazing, because like I said earlier, my mom wasn't really a mother figure. I'm the only child, so I didn't have a sister. And growing up, I didn't have that strong, powerful woman influence to tell me, you shouldn't be dating that guy. So
he wrong for you, girl.
yeah. So between the three of them, they definitely hold me strong. Them and so many other women and men within the community.
Yeah. It's crazy because I was at a jazz club here in Atlanta. I played the saxophone, and when I walked in, there was a young lady there, and I said, can I grab, I said, I need help to my seat. And she was like, grab my elbow. And I was like, who do you know that's blind? Talking about grab your elbow. She was like, my aunt is blind. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what's your aunt's name? Because we want to find out all the blind people we can. Mm-hmm. No, I was like, where's your aunt? She was like, in Philadelphia. And I said, what's her name? She was like, Brown. I was like, Denise Brown? She was like, yeah, you know her? And I'm like, yeah. And so every time I would come to the jazz club, she was like, have you talked to my aunt? I said, I'm going to see her in New Orleans in a couple of weeks. But yes, I've talked to her. And it was just funny to meet Denise's niece in Atlanta. And crazy story. But Janetta has written this anthology with you fine ladies contributing a chapter to it. What was the name of your chapter? What is the name of your chapter?
Leap of Faith.
I knew it. I knew it. I got you. So a lot of this story is in the book?
Yes, a lot of it is, which is pretty cool to me, because that was my first time writing my story. And that was emotional too. Right. Because I always said my story, I experienced my story, and as I wrote my story, I was like, I've been through way too much. And there was times that I cried, and it brought back some flashbacks, both good and bad, but then as I realized I'm putting this figurative pen to paper, I'm not crying because of all the pain. I'm crying because of all the growth I've had. Mm-hmm. And being able to say, I wrote this and I'm growing and I'm better than I was. It helped me so much. Like the book says, I wrote and it healed me.
And the name of the book is?
Right to Heal.
And your chapter is Leap of Faith.
Yes.
Got you. So we're planning the event for Atlanta, so hopefully I will get to meet you. We are thinking sometime in March, so that would be amazing.
Yes, be no snow.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, we don't get it. So whenever I go to Philadelphia is my favorite city. Pennsylvania, one of my favorite states. You guys got sidewalks like Virginia, and you can walk to the corner store and stuff like that. So, yeah. Wow. Well, I can't leave it here. So tell us something that you haven't told us that you would want the audience to know. I got one. So you have a daughter. You went through this ordeal called life. How would you advise her, protect her, encourage her? How would you do things different for her than what was done for you?
Well, now I read to her every day, because I always wanted my parents to read to me, and they never gave me any type of attention. So I
Mm.
made sure I read to her every day. Um, I pray with her every morning. So for her to understand that no matter what you're going through, there's always going to be that one person that's going to take care of you, and that's God. If you think I failed you, if you think anybody else fails you, God will never fail you. I always make sure she says something good about herself every day, even if it's just something simple as my cheeks are chubby and cute, and you like to touch them. So something that she needs to affirm herself with to grow that self esteem. And people who know her, they say she's so adorable and she's very confident. You know,
Gotcha.
um, I I try to keep doing that. So as she gets older and as she gets wiser with her friends and her situations, that she realized that you can have that peer support and you can have that God behind you and you can have all the emotions that you do have, but realizing when to do the right things and when to back away. um, Instilling all that in her somehow, some way, to make sure that she's
Mm.
growing in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. Do you collect anything? Elephants, angels?
What I'm doing now, I'm collecting dresses.
Okay.
Not just any dress. I'm collecting my daughter's dress. So every year of her life, I'm collecting a dress that she loves,
Mm-hmm.
and on her 18th birthday, I want to give it to her. And that stems from wanting to scrapbook. When I first became Oh no, before I became pregnant, I said if I ever have a child, I want a scrapbook. So show the memories of everything. So when I became pregnant and couldn't see to make a scrapbook at the time and no one was able to teach me, I figured out another way. And I was like, well, I'll scrapbook with dresses. I just won't cut it up.
Mm.
So that's what I've been collecting so far are dresses. I also collect bed sheets. Don't ask me why.
Okay.
I can't really give you a good idea as to why I'm collecting bed sheets, but I like to collect bed sheets and just have it, I guess, for the fact, maybe, look, saying this out loud, maybe for the fact that I was homeless so long
Right.
and didn't have a bed. Now I have sheets that I'm going to put it on the bed.
You like material
Yeah.
things. I got you. So where can they find the book? And also, have you met all the other authors?
Yes, I met a good majority of them in
Okay.
Louisiana at the convention,
Got you.
and I met them also at the Busboys and Poets event that we had in Maryland.
Okay. How'd you like that experience in Maryland?
Oh, it was so wonderful. I was just so upset that I had to leave so early because of my
Mm,
train ride, but just being a part of that experience, it was sold out, first of all,
right.
and hearing all the voices, even though you can't see the people, hearing those voices, it gave me so much adrenaline.
Okay.
And when I came on that stage and said my part, at first I was so nervous. And when I got to the mic and I just heard all the clapping and all the "you go girl, you be fine," it was so amazing. This
Wow.
is really amazing.
Yeah. It's empowering to tell your story and know that it's helping other people.
Definitely.
Yeah. Um. Well, Stacie, Stacie, Miss Leap. I am excited that you shared your story and you were so open with what you've been through. I know that wasn't all, but it does give the people listening, not just the women, but the people listening, a glimpse into your life, and to know that no matter what you're going through, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, and to know that that's not an oncoming train. So I appreciate you sharing with us. If anybody wants to reach out to you, what's a method that they can get in contact with you? Any social media, anything of that nature?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you just type in Stacie Leap, STACIE LEAP, I should be the only one that's there. I'm kind of the only Stacie there that's spelled that way.
Okay.
My Twitter and my Instagram handles are just that,
Okay.
Stacie Lee with no space. My LinkedIn and my Facebook, I believe, is the same thing. But if not, you can just search me and I'll pop up.
Okay. And I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to have my secretary to look up you, and we're going to follow you on all socials. And so cool. I'll end with that. Tell everybody bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. All right, everybody, you know what it is. It's all about the empowering interviews, a mechanism by which individuals, groups, and communities gain mastery over their affairs. So let's change the world, and let's change the world together.
Fedora Outlier LLC logo animation. Logo is burnt orange, reddish brown. The shape is a square with a white outer glow creating dimension. The letters FO are in the center of the square. The letters have a hand-drawn artistic appearance. Backdrop is black with light flares that appear then disappear. There is a transparent mirror image of the logo underneath.